I am both grieving and enraged today. I'm sure that all of you can relate. I'm also seriously worried and concerned for our country as well. Now, if you're not, and instead you're celebrating the travesty of what happened this week, please comment below, because I would seriously indeed like to understand where you're coming from. And I don't mean that facetiously. I don't mean that angrily, and I don't mean that with judgment. I just want to understand. Because the truth is, even when you're upset about election results, I can totally understand that. I felt upset about that before myself, and more than once. And in spite of what some of you may think, having seen my posts, I'm not one to comment or make political posts. Before 2015, I never posted anything political at all. And the truth is, none of my posts regarding the outgoing administration have anything to do with politics. Though I'm sure they seem like that to you, to some of you anyway. But they have to do with the outrage of what our country has come to at this point, of electing someone who can put themselves over their country. Someone who did out and out put pressure on a foreign government to gain help in his reelection. Someone who incited violence at his rallies and cheered them on for doing so. Someone who made fun of handicapped people and considers women objects for his and other men's gratification. It continues to be upsetting to me, and to refuse to be quiet as long as there are traces of this seditiousness in our country. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep talking. I'm Melody Brooke, and I'm a counselor, I'm an author, I'm a filmmaker, I'm an actor. I'm also a grandmother, and I'm concerned for my children and my grandchildren's future. Over the holidays, I heard my children talking about climate change and global warming and how they feel hopeful for their own families because they live at high enough altitude where they won't be affected by those in lower altitudes. This wasn't spoken in dire, fearful tones. It was so matter of fact, I found it baffling. They have accepted the reality of it as it unfolds and for the impact it will have on their lives and the lives of their children. This is something our current administration has ignored, in fact, ridiculed and removed protections to help at least slow it down. That is not a political issue. It's a personal issue. I don't know about you, but I'm really upset that this world that we are living in and what we're leaving to our grandchildren is turning out to be. One of the things I've worked on in my personal life is the ability to speak up. You've heard me speak truths and confront difficult topics here, but it's not always been the case. I have not always had the courage to do so. Speaking my truth, especially if it has importance to me emotionally, has been a real struggle for me. But as I step into this sort of crone age of my life, I remove the requirement that I've always placed on myself to please others. And I want to use the rest of my life to live fully, to be able to speak of things that don't make people happy, because I have come to understand that you can't do that. You literally cannot please everyone. I recently read something that I recognized immediately as being powerfully true. If you avoid conflict with others, you take that conflict inside of you. You don't stop the conflict, you just move it from outside to inside. Doing that actually causes stress and the physical problems that result from that stress. It also causes, ironically, to make it more likely you will explode at some undeserving person, because holding it in again and again, it just eventually just builds up and will come out on someone that unintentionally targeted. Now, while I watch this intense drama of the insurrection at our Capitol and the Capitol building and the anarchy that's being called for by some extremists, I will not stop challenging those who believe it's acceptable to attempt to destroy our beautiful country by forcing their agenda on those of us who for 245 years supported the Republic of the United States of America. We stand for a government which has been able to transition leaders peacefully throughout that entire time. Not once, even in the time of Lincoln, did the transition not take place peacefully. Granted, there were those who wanted to continue to exploit our Black population by enslaving them and who revolted and attempted to overthrow our government at that time, but they lost. And there are still people in this country who would have us fight that same civil war over again. They too will be put down. Make no mistake, most of our country wants a free country, free from enslavement and based upon freedom and equality for all. Most of us are horrified at the injustices of us melaninless folks that we've put upon the colorful among us. We are horrified by the fact that this country was built on the backs of Black Americans who were enslaved. We are horrified that in the past 4 years, babies were yanked from their parents and thrown into cages. They had to face judges before they could even adequately speak to answer the questions that they had no way to understand. This is not the way most of us want our country to operate. That was demonstrated by the Black Lives Matters protests attended by people of all colors all over the summer. Some deteriorated into violence, and as awful as it was understandable given the injustices people of color have suffered through our great nation's history. Now that we have an administration coming into power in this new year who supports diversity, we can use legal measures to make sure the rights of all of us are guaranteed. I'm asking you not to be afraid to speak your truth to those espousing support for this insurrection or for those who have incited it, including senators and members of the House of Representatives in our nation's capital, those leaders in each of our states who support it and encourage and incite the violence and the sedition. We need to throw them out. In this country, we settle those differences at the ballot box, not by the ammunition box. Yet make no mistake, if they choose to live by the sword or the barrel, they will die that way. I do not want to see that happen in my beloved country. It horrifies me to think that any of you would actually want our nation to descend into the violence and destruction that a civil war would bring upon our incredible nation. If you believe your vote was stolen, fight in the way our country was designed to fight, not with combat, as the traitor Giuliani called for, but with peaceful demonstrations and with the court system. So far, any evidence of this has been completely thrown out by conservative courts across the land. But if you think you have evidence, I implore you to continue to fight using the systems that we have in place to help you do just that. Our forefathers built a document that allows every one of us to fight for our rights through the legal system. It is far from perfect, especially if you're a person of color, a woman, or a differently gendered person. But it is the best this world has ever devised. Use the system to push for change. Speak up, fight the legal battles you believe in, and continue to help our nation become truly great. Your voice does matter. Use it in the ways that support our nation, not to destroy it. Okay, I see that there's some people that are here. Let me see if there's anybody commenting. Hi, Doc. Hi, Kimberly. Thanks for joining me today. I had no idea that I was going to end up talking about this week, because before last week, it wasn't even a part of my comprehension that such a thing could happen in our nation. It's embarrassing, it's horrifying, it's terrifying, and I don't think it's going to end anytime soon, as much as I wish that it would. This is kind of this cancer that's built in our country as people who have felt disenfranchised have blamed people of color for their circumstances, and they have blamed people who are actually trying to help those people who are suffering. And it's confusing to me because I don't understand. A lot of them are on benefits that allow them to eat, that allow them to have money to pay for gasoline, to do the things that they're doing to protest. And it totally baffles my mind that those very same people who are receiving the benefits of the efforts of the so-called socialist liberal Democrats, they're receiving those benefits, and yet they're fighting to do away with them. It confuses me. So I don't fully understand. Now, I know that that's not all of who they are. There are a whole lot of really educated, hardworking people who Obviously I could go on for a while because I have a lot of feelings about this, but thanks you so much for participating in watching this video. And if you have any friends or family that you would be wanted to share it with, anyone that you know that you'd like to share it with, please do. You can find out more about me at melodyburke.com. I have a book that's available on Amazon. It's called Oh Wow, This Changes Everything. I just revised it. There's a second edition available now on Kindle, and so check it out. You can also check out the offerings that I have on